Perfect. You ready to go?
Sure, why not?
Awesome.
By the way, this is not rehearsed. This is probably as good as it's going to get for time.
I have some notes here. I'm not a professional speaker like John, and he's a tough act to follow, but I'll do my best here with Sarah. She
We'll get through it.
does this all the time.
Yeah.
First, thank you everyone for having me and my company back. This is the third year running. It's an honor to be here and participate in this, and we look forward to continuing to sponsor this event in the years to come. My name is Michael Newborn. I'm a member of the TrackVia team, and I'm joined by my friend Sarah Dohnalik, who runs operations over there at Kaplan, and they also happen to be a client of our company.
Yeah.
So we just wanted to talk a little bit about our relationship, your lean journey, a little plug about how TrackVia may have helped you in that journey, if possible.
A lot, actually.
And,
we'll get into that.
And maybe answer some of the questions about how technology can be an enabler in that process, just in general. So with that said, I wanted to bring up a couple of things that John mentioned in the early part of the session. First being, good companies have a lot of room still to improve. And I think Kaplan is one of those good companies, but recognize that there's a lot of room to improve. And John has also mentioned the focus on data, which is why our company exists. So at the end of the day, a company like TrackVia brings data together and allows you to do things with data. And so we'll get into that, I think, as we go through these questions.
Absolutely. So I'll wait for the details until you ask me the questions.
So I guess the first question, Kaplan's been a champion of lean principle for years, I think now, maybe longer, I don't know.
Tim, has it been 6 or 7 years now?
Wherever you want to be.
So, yes, we've been, actually, Tim Meyerman, who you all met already, did work with me at Kaplan Professional, and he's the one who brought Kaplan to the organization and said, you gotta look at lean. This is what we need. And we're like, that's a manufacturing thing. It has no place in the office. And Tim put together a great story about how lean can help us to be more effective and deliver a better end product to our students. So Kaplan Professional, if you've not heard about us, above and beyond seeing our building down by the river, is we provide education for those who are in the financial, real estate, and architecture and engineering market. We're part of a bigger company called Kaplan Inc., which used to have, we have Kaplan International, we have Pathways, we have Kaplan Test Prep, and then we also have a contract where we work with Purdue Global University, and we provide their education materials and support. Anyways, so we went down this lean journey, and we started talking about what do we need to do to make improvements. And as you all know, it doesn't happen overnight, because with lean comes change. And you can't come in one day and say, we're gonna do lean, it's gonna be fantastic, you'll love it. Because like we were talking earlier, prove it to me. Prove it. Because you know what the first thing everybody heard, lean? What's the first thing everybody thinks of when they say lean?
Cut costs.
Losing jobs. Absolutely correct. But as we've shown at Kaplan, you don't lose jobs. You get opportunities to take on more clients, to deliver a better product, or diversify your staffing to try different things that maybe they weren't able to do before because they're so caught up in the day-to-day of trying to get stuff just pushed out the door. So moving forward, in 2017, am I going too slow? All right, in 2017, we implemented a value stream management team, which was the team that I kicked off and worked and developed to really lead our projects for delivering content. And we had, I want to say within 2 to 3 months after we hired the value stream team, we're like, we need a Kaizen. We need to get together and figure out all these different processes that were happening in silos, how we get them to flow consistently, how we get what we need to make sure we have standard processes, and to set our value stream managers up for success. So as we're working together through this Kaizen, what we did is we said, what's current state? Now what's the ideal state? And James Holthouse, who's our executive director of continuous improvement, said, here's what I want you to do. If you had no financial restrictions, no HR restrictions, except for the obvious ones that we all have to follow. No restrictions like that, what would you do? And as a team, we got together and we came out and we're like, we need a system. We need a system that we can bring all of our data points together, track all of our activities together, so that we have one source for information. Because prior to this, we were working in spreadsheets, we were working in multiple different platforms, including Jira, WorkZone, some people were in Salesforce. It just really wasn't connected. And so that was one of our key takeaways. And so then after that, James and Tim and I got back together and we're like, what are we gonna do? And that's when we started evaluating software programs.
Awesome. So it sounds like, some of the issues were people, process, data were sort of in isolation across the organization. And there was a goal to solve that, bring that stuff together. What were the sort of critical problems that existed as a result of that environment?
The critical problem is if Andy Tempe, our CEO, or Mike Pyre, the CFO, my boss, would come up to me and say, how long does it take me to put a book through? How long does it take you to get a book through? Depends. And it's probably going to take me about 20, 30 hours to try and get that data pulled together. Because some of the data points were in a spreadsheet. We tracked our times in another system. We had, which was WorkZone. Some people just knew it up in their head and they're just like, oh, I think it's about this much. But we had no real data to present. And one centralized piece where we could take the specification, marry them up with the time and say, oh, we are producing a book with 500 pages that we have to change about 30% of the content. That's going to take me approximately 20 hours to put through our editorial operations team, 10 hours to put through our data team, 15 days to print. So you can expect to have that out the door within 2.5 weeks. Now I know that because of tribal knowledge and throughout doing all the time crunching that we've done. But to be able to just pull that information right away and start measuring instantly where we're performing at any time is huge for us. So that was a key thing. The other key thing for our employees is they were getting frustrated. They're sick of having to go to multiple systems to gather the data they need to do their day-to-day work. It's not efficient. I just met with one of my teams, my online production team last week, and they're like going through the list of places they had to go to get information and like, where can we put this so it's all in one place? And I said, easy enough, TrackVia. It's gonna hold all this information. You have one source, you know exactly what you need to do your job.
Awesome. I've had the opportunity to speak to a number of members of your team. They all love working for you. It's a great bunch of folks. And we talked about empowering people to make the change, and that comes from good leadership like yourself. Tell me how your experience has been with TrackVia and how it's been able to empower the people that work for you to implement some of these changes and get you the visibility you're looking for.
Well, the interesting thing about TrackVia, and I shouldn't say the really cool thing about it is when we went and we said we're putting TrackVia in as our software, it wasn't myself and one other person saying, here's how we're going to build it, here's how we're going to move forward with it. From the start, we said, we're bringing a group of people, the people who do the work every day, a key lean principle, bring in the subject matter experts, those who do the work to help develop the system. First of all, we made sure we got it right by having them involved. Instead of me guessing who's stepping back away from what they're doing at the front end, we made sure we got it right. Second of all, it created the engagement. The employees felt empowered because they got to make the decision on what they needed to make their jobs better. And so because of that, that's been amazing. And the fact that now I'm not gonna lie to you, and we'll talk a little bit more pain points. We know what change management, the initial change is hard, and it's like, this isn't as fast as when I used to be able to go to the spreadsheet and get this. Or now I have to do 4 clicks instead of 3 clicks. They're still compartmentalizing the differences, but as they're gaining that experience, they're like, oh wow, this is so awesome, and now if we could just do this, we're gonna make even better improvements. So that was, that getting the engagement has gone a little bit tougher as it does with any software implementation, but now they're appreciating the value of what it adds.
Yeah, change is hard. At the end of the day, it's hard, and the bigger change it is, the harder it is. And you talked a little bit about some of the key learnings, sort of looking backwards. Is there anything else sort of on that subject that you would want to share with the audience here so that they can make different mistakes?
I was going to answer like suddenly I'm running for Miss America. I was my platform. But here's my platform ultimately. Don't underestimate the power of planning. Plan now sets you up for great performance later. And we've run into that. We are doing a phased approach, so we didn't try to just bring the whole system up at once and said, everybody go at it. We're doing it in smaller pieces. First of all, to help with the change management, because as we bring separate teams in at different points, the ones who are already integrated have become our cheerleaders. They're the ones who, when we have meetings and we're talking about the next step, they're like, oh my gosh, I just found this out today in TrackVia, and it is so awesome, you guys. This is fantastic. You got to look this up in the system. It's so cool. So then you're just building your army. But give them the time. Give people the time they need to plan. Make sure you dedicate time to that planning. The other thing is that we've learned is don't expect a software system to fix your process problems. What this software is going to do for us and has already done for us is just identify the issues that we have. It doesn't fix them, it's identified them, but at least we know what we need to fix. At least we know where the process is broken. At least we know where we need to go back and get everybody back in a room and say, all right, this did not work how we expected it to. Why and what should we do differently?
Well, I guess just to bring this home, we've been talking about servant leadership this morning, and the theme of that, how that's played into your transformational role at the organization. Just a couple of points there based on what we've discussed or anything you want to mention.
Absolutely. So when I was just talking a few minutes ago, I talked about how this empowered employees, that they got to be a part of decision making. They're accountable. If you don't have that environment and you introduce it, it's very scary for employees. You're like, what do you think? And they look at you like, really? Does my thought matter? Absolutely. Absolutely. We need to listen to our employees. We need to give them the opportunities where they can make decisions and determine where the company is going. They know the work better than we do. Let's leverage that. You know, I always look at like our president of the United States. He's not the president because he knows everything. He's the president because he has the right people working for him that can make the decisions that moves our country forward. And that's the same way with your company too. You need to be that way. So I think that's a key coming out of servant leadership. The other thing I like about it is as we're gaining efficiencies, it's given me more of an opportunity to be a leader, to do time coaching, to do time one-on-one, understanding where my team wants to go from a career development standpoint. Prior to that, if you're spending so much time trying to capture all your data, trying to figure out how to identify problems, it takes too long. You're not doing what your company hired you to do, and you're not doing what's best for your employees.
Great, thank you. I think we're going to wrap it up here, Sarah. I appreciate your time talking through this. If you have one more point,
I have one more plug. The one question Michael didn't ask me is why do we choose TrackVia over other systems? Because there's other software systems that can do this, that do process management. Whether it's a development workflow like Jira, we looked at Workfront, we looked at Bizaji, we looked at, I think it was 10 different platforms and evaluated them. The number one, I shouldn't say the number one reason, but one of the main selling points for TrackVia is its low code. What does that mean? That means you don't have to be a developer to set this up and get this working for your company. In fact, at Kaplan, the gentleman who is our administrator for the software platform was one of my value stream managers who wanted to look more into how to look at data and so on and so forth, but never had any computer experience. He has already picked this up and he's running with it. And as an operational person, he is able to administer and administrate it successfully. So if I could give a selling point for TrackVia, which I think ultimately a little bit why we're here, I want to point out that that is a key thing with TrackVia. The other thing I would say is if you guys are looking for a software platform and you want to learn more about our experience, anybody, Tim Eimerman can get you in contact with me and I would be happy to speak to you about it.
Yeah, and for some more information, our marketing team coincidentally released a press release and case study today on Kaplan, so feel free to go to LinkedIn or it's on our website if you want to check that out. I appreciate the plug. I'll pay you later for that.
I expect a good dinner tonight.
But I appreciate you sitting up here with me today, Sarah, and talking through your journey. I know it's not over, but look forward to our continued partnership together.
My pleasure.